Well, the story is back from the markets, one would say. But then, if you look at what's happening in other markets, it is equally troubling. It's information that is available to us says that something in the region of 200% hike has gone on hospitals and drug markets. And the effect is very, very telling. Of course, we saw that in the papers not too long ago. So hospitals without drugs, people unable to access Medicare the way they should, paying from out of pockets, limited insurance, health insurance for people, access to healthcare. It's a plethora of issues, but let's have conversations this morning with Professor Sam Ohuabunwa. Am I correct?
I didn't know when I became a professor.
Okay, well, I actually thought you had become one.
I'm a younger brother who's a professor.
Okay, Dr. Sam Ohuabunwa is...
Dr. Sam Ohuabunwa.
President, African Economic Summit Group. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Now, you've worked with the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria as president, so that will give you some understanding and possibly even some petrification, if I dare say, about this issue. 200% hike in the cost of drugs and Medicare for people. How does it resonate with you?
Well, I have not just worked with being president of Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria. I was chairman of the Pharmaceutical Manufacturers Group, president of West African Pharmaceutical Manufacturers Association. So I grew up in the industry. I was CEO of Pfizer and Laments. So I know the industry well, and I know the healthcare industry. It is one disease that is afflicting everybody, and I will start with myself. Yesterday, I went to buy an antibiotic. The last time I bought that antibiotic was 7,000, 6,000. Yesterday, I went, and it was, after giving me a pharmacist discount, it came to 26,000. Something I bought 6,000 or 7,000.
At a discount?
At a discount, because there's a pharmacist discount. There's a pharmacist. 26,000 something. I just looked at it and I paid. And I'm saying, how many people can afford this? 26,000 is what some people earn as salary. It's people who do security work and house. It's 26, 20, 20. That's the truth. So it is something that is very distressing. However, it is not unique to healthcare. It's not unique to pharmaceutical products. It's not unique to hospital. Every item in Nigeria, today the greatest inflation is on food. As basic as food is, as critical as it is to the survival of any human being, Nigerians, food is part of the most expensive thing, and the price is still galloping. So no part of the economy or any good is excluded from the what you might call hyperinflationary pressure today, except we decide to do something for those key areas like food, medicine, and maybe education and housing. These are critical areas that government needs to find a way to cushion this hyperinflationary pressure that is leading to people getting low quality of life and maybe also having shorter life expectancy. It's painful. There's malnutrition because people don't feed well. And then diseases are just growing in the seams. If I could feel that pain of buying an antibiotic, I can imagine what it would be for the ordinary Nigerian who is not on insurance, and even those on the so-called national health insurance. They are treated like second-class citizens when they go to hospitals. National health insurance. If you arrive at the hospital and they say you're on national health insurance, they keep you on one side. Treat those who are paying, because they don't regard the national health insurance as paying.
Is this from public hospitals or private hospitals?
Any hospital you go to, public. That's where most people go with public. If you come, they keep you on one side. No, they don't give priority to people with national health insurance because they believe they are not getting proper payment for the services. That is the practical demonstration in the hospitals. both private and public. If you are paying, if you have your pay from your cash, from your pocket, where they can give you the bill, the actual bill. But if you're insurance, health insurance, they don't bill you for most of the primary activities. But the suppliers of these services feel they are not getting value. So it's either something is wrong with the premium, or it's wrong with the way we are charging or the premium for hospital services from the National Health Insurance. So many things are not working well. We're begging that we should even ramp up the insurance. If we did, at least many people can have access to primary health care, can have access to the minimum, even if, as I said, they are treated as second-rate clients in hospitals. But the truth is that insurance cover today does not go. The last time I checked was 6%.
But just on the issue that you just highlighted, now it's rather troubling.
It is.
Is this something that you think that the health authorities, the ministerial level or at the commissioner level, are aware that public hospitals, particularly public hospitals, do not give due regard to holders of health insurance policies?
You have two types of health insurance. You have national health insurance, you have private insurance. Those with private insurance have access because the premium they pay is different. But the NHIS, which is where a fixed premium is paid to health management organizations who now pay suppliers, that chain is not working well because even the suppliers of services, the doctors, the pharmacists, the physiotherapists are not getting reimbursed appropriately. So there's a reluctance to service those patients because, like, we're going to increase our debt. It is what the government should check at and find out what I'm speaking about. It is a reality. But like I said, that's a smaller problem vis-a-vis those who cannot even afford it. Those who don't have that insurance, whether it is private or national health insurance, those who do not have access to health care, who cannot afford. Today, it is getting worse because people pay out of pocket. And when you have to pay out of pocket, you prioritize food, you prioritize transportation, even prioritize so many things before you get to drugs.
But, another thing one question that should be asked of that is, what are the consequences of this situation? This 200% hike, according to The Guardian, 200% hike and scarcity of essential drugs in the drug market and in the hospitals. What are the consequences?
Consequences that people are going to have difficulty managing their illnesses. The consequences are going to be increased morbidity and then increased mortality because one extends to the other. Morbidity is when your function is depressed, is suboptimal. Mortality is when the function ends. You can't operate anymore, and the people say you're dead. There is an increasing number, and we're not trying to frighten anybody, but it's the reality of the situation. The reality of the situation is that people cannot afford health care now because of the high inflation, the depression in purchasing power, and the lack of opportunity. And I think that government, which their primary responsibility is the welfare and well-being of the people. I keep saying it. It is good to do all the gymnastics we do in government or in politics or in economics, talking about how much you have, how much road you are building, how much this. For me, the measurement of the capacity of government is the quality of life of the citizen. And the primary responsibility is that every government should say, I met my citizens at this level of well-being and have moved them to this state of well-being. That is my own measure. It's not the number of roads. It's not the number of houses. It is the quality of life. And for now, government needs to focus. What do we do? Because it's a general inflationary pressure on everything, as I said. But there are 3 or 4 segments government will look at and decide what to do about them. Look at food, agriculture, and look at medicines. These two are so primary before even talk about the others. And say, what is instigating this high cost and scarcity? And you know, first is that the cost of importing raw materials in Nigeria today, because everything we use for pharmaceutical manufacturing, let me not say everything, most things we use for pharmaceutical manufacturing, most equipment we use for pharmaceutical manufacturing are imported. And so if you want to reduce the cost of drugs, you look at those components. We're still paying VAT on raw materials. We're still paying duties. We're paying VAT on equipment. We're paying duties on equipment. And when you add all that up, and every day you go, the customs will tell you the duty rate has changed, because even the exchange rate which you establish your LC has changed, and you have to pay. They recalculate it. They are so happy to recalculate custom duty for you, and you can stay. Your goods can be in the port for as long as you have not been able to pay the new rates. There is no feeling at all that pharmaceuticals like food are life-saving and they require emergency treatment. For example, if pharmaceutical products arrive at the port, you should create a special clearance that they don't have to go through the protocols of filling forms and going forward and backwards. You treat them as if we're importing cars, as if we're importing an inanimate thing, despite the fact that they have shelf lives.
You know, Dr. Ohuabunwa, this issue of, the one that you just talked about now, the fact that, the importation of these things, most of the things used to produce these pharmaceutical products are imported, is not new. We had an interview with the NAFDAC DG who said at some point that we are at the brink, it's about a year or two ago, we're at the brink of a health or of a crisis in that sector because we need to have a health security of sorts. She was raising the alarm about a year or two ago now about the fact that we need to be health secure because these countries, importing from them is dangerous for us. Secondly, if we do not start to find a way to get these things done ourselves, we will always be at the mercy of these people. And that's just about a year or two ago. Even now, I'm looking at a report that says as far back as 8 months ago, industrial pharmacists warned Nigerians of potential scarcity of essential drugs across the country because of the high cost of forex, among other things. What were we waiting for?
Well, it is a country that is unable to prioritize adequately. Our priorities are mixed. You see, it hurts me because I'm saying what is the essence of governance beyond seeing how we can make life better for our citizens. And if citizens can't have food, they can't have medicines, then you then begin to talk about education and housing. Because these four are important. If you ask me, food is first. Second is medicine. Before you go to the other ones, so you must be healthy to do education and even live. So I think that the problem is that we're not prioritizing. The money we're spending on inanities, on vanity, are enough to us to subsidize food, subsidize medicines, both from foreign exchange allocation and pricing to import duties, VAT, and all these taxes that add up to cost. Because the taxes are based on exchange rate. So if exchange rate goes up, everything else goes up to bring the goods. The process of importation is so long, it gets to the custom. The custom people, they are like, they are insensitive. They treat every item, as the same. Nobody says, please, we're in an emergency situation. Nigerians are having issues. Let's treat medicines, medicals, healthcare issues, food issues in a separate way, create a different opportunity. We talk about subsidy. No nation does not subsidize. All this palliative we're giving is subsidy. So, but give it the right way. Provide medicines in a manner. Buy medicines in bulk. Give orders to pharmaceutical companies and say, look, we're giving you to produce so much for some, and work out what the cost will be. And government has they control the cost elements. So they can decide, we want the cost to come to X. What will it take to bring the cost to X that our people can afford? It's not difficult for any government to calculate.
But then who is some people will point to palliatives.
What palliatives? Palliatives that go so well. Those palliatives have no sustainability.
You know, my colleague Marwe has a question or two for you. Go ahead, Marwe.
Indeed, well, it's good to see you, sir. And, you know, some of the issues that you have raised are truly troubling indeed. When you take a look at, let's go back to the conversation you were having about insurance, the fact that, you know, when even people are insured, you know, it is very difficult for them to get services at the hospital. Sometimes, you know, the quality of medication that they also get too can be suspect. Because of the fact that they are on insurance. Nowadays, you find people saying, you know what, I'll purchase my drugs myself. Just give me the prescription, because they're not sure about the quality of the medicine which they're going to receive. I'm just wondering, some of these things which you have raised in terms of insurance, and even the ideas, because you also used to head the PCN, the Pharmaceutical, is it PSN now, beg your pardon, Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria. Has anybody been able to take these suggestions to the Minister of Health, who should have an overview of what is happening in the sector?
I'm sorry to say I might be too blunt and maybe not politically correct, but the truth of the matter is that we have a health minister who is willing. You can see a willing health minister. He listens to everybody. He goes around and he makes promises, and those promises are not being realized because it is not all in his hands. He has promised us executive order, presidential executive order that will make things easy for manufacturing. We held meetings with him, held dinners with him in Lagos, in Abuja, and all manner of places. The guy is willing, but I can see that the whole thing is not in his hand. You know, he's not able to push some of these things through. There is a clear understanding of what the issues are. The Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria, the Pharmaceutical Manufacturers Group, all the stakeholders, you know, in the pharmaceutical industry have adumbrated, elucidated on these issues. As some of you know, this is not the first time we're speaking about them. These issues were recognized immediately after during the COVID-19, when we first faced the shock of not having pharmaceuticals because India and China closed their borders. And we began to talk of seeing medicines as a national security issue, the way we see importing ammunition and in training our soldiers and all that. That was the view. That was why CBN at that time started thinking about providing dedicated funding to pharmaceutical companies or healthcare companies to increase their capacity and capabilities, you know. But before you could even get the plans started, everything changes. You know, you now have, you borrowed money at X, you're going to pay back at Y, which is X times 300 or 400. And you're saying, how do I pay back? Then I may have to raise my prices. You raise your prices, people cannot afford. And pharmaceutical products have time expiration. They are time limited. So pharmaceutical manufacturers, especially in the pharmaceutical subsector, are in their pain. They are owing banks, they are owing their suppliers, and they can sell the goods because unless you sell below cost. So what is asked here, if you ask me, let government decide to subsidize for a period of time, just like it's a palliative, let's say in the next 1 year, before the economic policies we have taken, you know, come to a point where they begin to yield positive results. Because what we have seen now is negative, and that is what happens when we take those kind of shock therapy we've taken the economy. I believe that in the long run, they will turn out to be positive. But in the short run, instead of coming to the television and reading on newspaper 200%, 300%, people can't afford the drugs. It is not beyond us to divert some of the money we are using for inanities, for vanity, into procuring drugs in bulk, procuring food, procuring those essentials for the next 1 year so Nigerians can feel some bit of relief. in 1 year we can return to all the tariffs, to all the taxes, because you are taxing me, you're taking money from the people in the name of tax, because everything, subsidy removal, foreign exchange devaluation, they are taxes to the citizen. You take the money from the citizen. What do you give them back for? Is thinking about big projects, 15 trillion project, new aircraft, new buildings. They are nice, but why about the survival of the people, the basic things they need, which won't cost 15 trillion? If you put 15 trillion into pharmaceutical industry today, drugs will become almost zero in cost, or food will become largely available, and the suffering of people will ameliorate. Because for crying out loud, the essence of governance is to improve the quality of life of people. It is. And anytime the quality of life of people are not improved, no government can say they are doing well. Because that's my own measure of how well a government is doing. What is the quality of life? What is life expectancy? What is your energy consumption, carbohydrate consumption, protein consumption? What is the infant mortality, maternal mortality? These are measures of the well-being. What is the energy? How much can you afford to live a good life? The moment we are not able to live a good life, nobody would tell me that we are doing well. We can't be doing well. But I understand that pains, we have to pass through pains. They say you cannot eat omelette without breaking the egg. I accept. But while omelette is being baked, while omelette is being broken, we can provide bread to keep the child happy and say we are working on your omelette so that he can be alive. If not only putting something in his stomach, he has hope. My call today at this program is that government needs to take pharmaceuticals or healthcare and food into a different category and pay attention, see what they can do to make it available. We don't want to get people to start going to riot or going to streets or falling down before government will start running. This is enough warning. When the newspapers say it, the media says it, we who are professionals and practitioners say it, government had better take us seriously, because it is to help government that this feedback is being given.
So, Dr. Ohuabunwa, when you talk about government subsidizing the sector, is it in areas of the drugs or health insurance? Because, I mean, if you subsidize drugs without the insurance, can they access it? What impact will it make? How should they work?
Well, the thing that whatever, most of the time, when anybody goes to the hospital, most of the time, let's say 80% of the time, the end point of his attendance is drug. The best physicians, the best clinicians can prescribe medicines. If you don't get those drugs, it's as if you wasted your time. It is drugs that give value to the work of most of the healthcare professionals. So if you make drug cheap, whether you are getting it for insurance or you're getting it out of pocket, it becomes affordable. So that's the subsidy I'm asking for. Let government focus on, if it's bulk purchase of drugs, call the pharmaceutical companies. Each one has its own areas of specialty. Okay, you make, the Ministry of Health and Trade will already have, plus NAFDAC, they have an idea of the consumption rate. As we talk about consumption rate for PMS, we have consumption rate for analgesics, for anti-malarials, for antibiotics, for the basic products. Then you can give contracts to pharmaceutical companies and say, make this quantity at this price. And they will sit down with pharmaceutical companies and calculate what makes up the price. They'll tell you the cost of the raw materials. And if you see that it is the exchange rate that is the problem, you do something. It's in your hands. If you think it's the tariff, if you think it's the VAT, if you think it's the clearing charges, you do something. As an emergency, you say you declare emergency on food. I do not know what that emergency reflects, how it is, how we are seeing the emergency. When there's an emergency anywhere, people around need to see what the emergency is all about. The frenzy of actions and activities that have been done, not just say emergency, you announce emergency, and everything is still going the normal way. That will not bring any results.
It's a lot of things, because I'm looking at this report from 8 months ago, and it's saying, look, it will get worse. Now, what must we do? I mean, if you can do this for me in 30 seconds, what must we do now to avert something worse than that?
I have said it. The issue is, let government provide a dedicated subsidy. That is, how would this subsidy work? It is, it's a predetermined action. We have calculated that we need so much analgesic, antimalarial. Let's take the basic medicines. Then you go to the manufacturers, call them to a meeting through the pharmaceutical manufacturers group or the other parts of industry, including those who do importation. We sit down with accountants, with Ministry of Finance, with Ministry of Trade. How much does it cost to produce these items? We give you the basic price, you check. Then you decide, okay, we're going to allow you this time, instead of taking 15% margin, government will only allow 5% or 10% margin. So that this is something we're doing together to save our situation. Okay. And that's the way to be done. Okay. You go there, you do the same for food, because food and medicines are related. Sometimes food itself is medicine.
It's a long conversation, and we have to thank you. I'm hoping that the next time we have this conversation, it will be not talking about these wars, but to also say, you know, thank goodness we're here where we are now, and we can only do better. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Dr. Sam Ohuabunwa is President, African Economic Summit Group. He's been President, Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria. You've also been President or CEO of Pfizer and a number of other pharmaceutical companies. Thank you so again for your time today.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Well, that's the show this morning, but hey, any feedback, guys?
Well, the feedback is food is medicine. I need medicine right now. well, that's the show. We do thank you all for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. I'm Chey, so goodbye.
Remember what he said at the beginning. You know, women, don't keep your food longer than 3 days in the fridge. It's not from him, it's from the NAFDAC DG. Well, thank you for watching. I'm Maokbe Ogun Yusuf.
I think I'm going to cue a Chamberlain this morning. Your food is also medicine. It's one of those things that they say in medicine as well. Thanks for your time. Have a wonderful day. I'm Ayo Makinde.